What's up guys, Cory here. As you can see, I'm not always at my home studio. I'm on assignment right now in Maryland, but that does not mean we're not going to have reviews. So let's get started with Attack of the Review with The Snowman. The Snowman is a crime thriller directed by Thomas Alfredson, based on the novel of the same name by Joe Nesbø. The film follows Detective Harry Hull, who investigates a series of mysterious murders in the town of Oslo. Detective Hull, played by Michael Fassbender, tries to find the identity of the killer who uses snowmen as his calling card.
I'm thinking that he's going after women that he disapproves of.
So first off, let's talk about the plot here, because it's pretty messy and convoluted. I went into this knowing that it's the 7th book in a series, but it's the first film out of those books, and I didn't expect too much character development, but man, we got pretty short-ended here because I still wanted to figure out a little bit more about Michael Fassbender's character. I wanted him to be more evolved. Now, by the end of the film, I felt like I did know a little bit about him, but there was so many things that were left out of this film that I just feel like I could have really related to them had it just been added. There's a lot of key factors to the storyline, however, like the actual mystery here that I felt like were tied together pretty well, but that's about it. There really wasn't too many reasons to relate the characters to each other. There wasn't too much motivation for the villain other than some stuff you find out kind of as the film goes on. And there's very easy points to pick out where there's things like coffee beans, for example, which if you haven't seen the film yet, you'll know exactly why those are important, that you can just about guess right off the bat what's going to happen with that every time they mention it. On top of that, I will say the editing is just god-awful. It is a travesty. As somebody that edits films, I watch some of these scenes that were supposed to have fighting or violence in them, and other than ones where they just visually showed the special effects or a dead body, there were just so many open-ended moments where the continuity didn't work for me, or that they just took all of the the sensation out of the fight scenes or out of the violence for me, other than when they showed the violence. I mean, yeah, there's decapitated bodies and there's some violent parts, but realistically, for me, it's the imagery that was amazing. It's just the way it was pulled off in the editing wasn't fantastic, because you have amazing cinematography here. I mean, beautiful, stunning shots. And especially in the situation, in the location that they are in. They are in just a beautiful, snowy, depressing place. And of course, if you have murders going on here, I would personally get obsessive over it, because it'd be like the kind of thing that it happens in this kind of place. But realistically, going back and watching it, it's just not what I was hoping it would be after seeing the trailers. It just was so much less of a fun horror movie than it was just a really long mystery that I was invested in. I really, really wanted to get to the bottom of it, but by the time the film was over, I just was like, man, alright, I'll see a second one if it comes out. This just wasn't enough for me. I will say another thing that did hold the film together was the acting, because Michael Fassbender, even though he's always played very, very strange and kind of out there roles, and he has some magnificent work under his belt, this was one of those roles that just felt safe for him. I mean, he's playing a drunk, nicotine-addicted cop that's just obsessed with some things, and obviously has some distraught disorder type stuff going on from his past, but it's not really reflecting into this film other than the fact that he once had a relationship with a woman and it didn't work out, and you can tell that that kind of haunts him. Along with J.K. Simmons and Rebecca Ferguson and some others, there are just some fantastic scenes here, but there are also some really terrible ones. The terrible ones really only come off as terrible because of how bad the editing is. It's not the acting that necessarily takes it away, it's just the editing, because some of these actors are top-level actors. We've seen them in some of the best films of the last couple of years. But for this, there's definitely no room for you to not at least pull out an okay on this. It should at least be decent, and it's just, I mean, it is decent, it's just not the decent I wanted going into this. So, yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a problem, but I will say the acting actually saved some of it for me, because I enjoy watching these people act. This was a great cast, and that was one of the best parts of this film, for sure. So for me, I gotta give The Snowman 2 out of 5 Blu-rays, because other than fantastic cinematography and some really good acting amongst some of the actors like Michael Fassbender and J.K. Simmons and Rebecca Ferguson, some of the loose ends just aren't tied up enough for me, and it's just really one of those films you're watching, you're wanting so much to happen, and when it gets to these climaxy scenes, then the editing is terrible, and it's just one loose end after another, almost like they just wanted to rush this film to get it out specifically for Halloween. I would have been cool if you just took an extra month and a half, get it out 2 weeks before The Last Jedi in December, and I would have been totally cool with that because it's the Snowman. It's a Christmas relatable story, but they're putting it out at Halloween because it's a horror film or a mystery. It's just kind of a big mess, and honestly, I can't recommend going to see it. I mean, if you want to go out and check it out on your own, go do it. I just can't recommend it. It wasn't a film I want to spend money on again. So yeah, just kind of go into it knowing that it's not the greatest film in the world, but if you can see the speculation and knowing that it's something that takes place in the middle of a series of books, then it's not as bad because the characters aren't as hard to relate to, because you know there's more going to come along for them. So yeah, if you're interested, go check out The Snowman. Well guys, thanks for stopping by my review of The Snowman this week. I'll be back home next week to give you some more trailer and movie reviews, but this weekend I'm going to have a couple special ones specifically for the holiday season, as well as something a little bit more personal to me as a project. But as always, thanks for stopping by at Attack of the Review, and we'll see you next time on Attack TV.